Never
knew.
My
My
undergrad at Kansas. Thanks for reading my bio, Britton. Anything else I can give you for free without you knowing anything about me? Appreciate it. It's good. Mac, I'm totally up to speed with you. You went to Kansas, huh?
Yeah.
You ready for the start time?
You're
I
not
didn't
here.
know that.
We're not
I
here.
know sports.
We're not here
I
for
had
the
no
bio.
clue.
We're
Yeah,
not here
right.
for that.
It's good. What else can I get you for free?
That's
awesome.
the way lobbyists work,
All right,
man.
I know,
let's
right?
get this shit on the road. Let's go. This
The
is
words of cotton are distorted. But what they meant to say was not reported. Before the torches come to town, we gonna burn this fort down.
Welcome back, people. We are FORTitude, and today's show has got one of our old little Horn Frog buddies on it, a guy by the name of Mac Engel. It's a second visit to the show. Thanks for coming back, Mac.
Thank you.
We are much improved set from last time, and your audio only version has now become a video and audio. So we apologize for not sharing that information with you. My partner, Britton, to my right, we just finished our pre-recording argument, so we're back on the same page. We're ready to roll.
Yeah, I would just like to ask, I want you to listen to something, Mac, and then being in the sports journalism area that you just let me know about for free. Thank you very much.
You'll get a bill.
Let me see what you think about this.
His former TCU defensive lineman,
Oh, he
JW
snuck it
Wilson.
in.
He's in for Landryburg dying tonight. JW, it's an electric
On this reporting.
atmosphere here. The big stage, national television. It's never seemed to phase Gary Patterson's teams, who seemingly play their
a
best
long
when
intro.
the most eyes are on them.
Thank you, Brian. You're right about that. This place is sure is a fun place to play. I'll tell you that. Being here back in '96, we had a Jeff Dover upset a John Blake coach team. But the crowd's one thing I remember more than anything. They're loud, they're obnoxious. They want to get in your head. They want to mess with your psyche. They want to mess with your cadence. They're intimidating, and they know it, and they're good at it. So you got to take it back to the crowd. But Gary Patterson, he's known for playing in big games. He's known for getting his guys ready to play in big games.
Agreed.
So that all being said about the crowd, I don't think Gary Patterson's coach team will have any problem with this type of crowd. But what an electric environment it sure is to be in tonight.
I tell you what, Gary.
That was
apart
kinda
there at the
long,
end.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really win in that situation. I've noticed, like Britton, if you've never done it, you're gonna be like, well, that's kind of long. That's not very good. Well, you go do it, and you'll be 1,000 times worse. Because if you've never done it before, you're like, you don't realize just how horrible you sound. And I'm sure you guys have gone through this with this show.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, that's terrible. I sound horrible.
Yeah.
Just quit talking. Stop talking. Make the question shorter. Whatever it is. Because once, like, you were probably nervous when you were on, right? At that moment.
At that point, I was.
You could kind of tell. You're like, okay, yeah, he threw it to him for the first time. And probably by halftime or the third quarter, you were fine. But it takes that first couple of times, like, oh, God, I sounded horrible. And the best
You
thing
think
about
that right afterwards, too? Or
I
no,
do now.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. When I go back and I listen, I'm like, God, that's terrible.
Yeah.
God, that's horrible. But it's funny when JW was talking about that game in '96, I was at that game. That was the first game I ever attended when I worked at TCU, and they won. It was a huge upset, right? They'd won in Oklahoma in 1,000 years and all this other stuff. And I thought, oh, they're going to be pretty good. And then they weren't. And then Pat Sullivan resigned.
I forgot about all those other bad
Those other
times.
ones?
Yes.
That was a great game, though. Did
I
you
just
have
like to
fun
bring
doing that?
that up.
Did you have fun doing it?
It was incredible. I stood next to Holly Rowe for the duration of the game, and I actually, shouldn't say this too much, but I found out that Trey Hodges Tomlinson, our defensive back, was not going to play the second half. And I called up to Brian in the booth saying, hey, I got some news on this guy. So I told them, and I actually made the report. And then I see Holly Rowe looking at Tomlinson on the sideline, kind of wondering what he's not doing going in. We made eye contact. I felt like I was really part of the media at that point. And I said, and when I kind of motioned over to her, and she walked over to me, and I said, yeah, he's out. She goes, really? And I said, yeah. And she goes, that's a big deal. She radios up to, I assume,
production
Herb
truck.
Street or somebody.
Yeah.
And then they broke it on the national news a little while later. So I felt like a really important media member.
Yeah, but did you feel like
everyone's
that was given too much? Like, or like, it's Mac, does it get into like,
Well, it's
no,
obvious.
it's my story though.
Not
Like
at
it's
all.
for
I mean,
us to do it.
In that case, because people don't realize the whole sideline reporting thing is a lot harder than it looks because you can't really do or say that much.
Yeah.
Now in college, you can get away with a little bit more. In the pros, you can't get away with anything.
Yeah.
Like anytime you see one of those sideline reporters, okay, such and such is hurt and he's out for the game. The NFL has already given them and pre-approved that information. Like we get it in the press box the same time that the sideline reporter's getting it. In college, you might have a little bit more luck if you know the trainer or an equipment guy or maybe the player. You can get a wink and nod, something like that. Sideline reporting is really hard. what questions are you going to ask?
Oh, right.
Like these guys are mad. They're coming out at halftime, or they're going into the locker room at half, and they're usually ticked off because something's gone wrong. And now you've got to come up with some dumb question that this guy does not want to stop and have to answer, and to get some sound for 38, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Because that's been negotiated between the network and the conference. And it's just content. They don't say anything. The one who's gotten really good at it, and I don't know how you did with Gary, the one who got really, really good at it is Erin Andrews, because Erin's made so much money and she's done it for so long. She'll ask anything. And if you can ask anything and not be afraid of the consequence, it's usually okay.
Yeah.
But if you're nervous and you're worried, oh, am I going to make this person upset? You can tell.
Surely.
And it's tough, especially Gary's wound up tighter than a drum. He's mad. His team's getting crushed. His defense can't stop anybody. What is JW or Landry Burdine or anybody in those situations going to ask?
Yeah.
Well, that guy's not going to get the hell out of my face. I don't want to talk to you. They don't, but they do, and you're just getting in the way.
So, Mac.
So, listen, you did a nice job.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. It was quite an experience for me. But before we get into more Mac Engel, we're still in the process of trying to gain followers and gain an audience, as you clearly already have.
It's hard.
We need to plug ourselves real quick. You can find
it's hard.
If you ever want to find FORTitude on the intranet, you can find us at YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and Facebook at FORTitude FW. If you ever want to check out our website, Mac, it's www.fortitudefw.com. If you want to contact us, fortitudefwpodcast@gmail.com. In case you ever just wanted to.
I was just going to text you instead.
That works too. That works too. So
well,
I
some of
appreciate
those
that.
questions that you've so been so generous with.
Yes.
No, with me. He's my inside guy.
That's right.
Yeah, I do have to give
I forgot about
big
that.
thanks to Mac, because he's helped me in many of interviews where I bring up stuff that JW doesn't think I have any idea about, which I don't. It's just that Mac does, and I reach out to him
that in
beforehand.
today. That was very clever.
job.
I like that. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So
Let me tell you my Holly Rowe story.
Yeah.
please.
So this is kind of one of the fun things about my job, because I don't make as much money as you guys do. I do get like fun experiences that you can't quantify.
We don't
What's
have
that worth?
a photographer like this. Boy, oh
That
boy.
is. That was nice. That was awfully nice of them.
Yeah.
I looked good that day. God, I had really fat cheeks. But I'm sitting here looking at all your toys, and I'm like, I got to meet Pat Tillman. I got to talk to Pat Tillman before he left us.
Okay.
JW said he paid me $1 million if I knew who that was to guess.
He did not have. He had
You
no,
know,
he had
Pat
no
Tillman was a
idea.
badass when he played.
Yeah.
So I got to talk to him. But my Holly Rowe story is, so Holly Rowe is on Twitter, and she puts up something, and Holly Rowe is a pro who's very positive and is a fierce advocate for sports, and specifically women's sports, right? So she puts up a picture of something regarding Iowa State women's basketball, and I don't look at it. I just put in some smart ass one-liner.
You really?
Yeah, I know,
No.
right? I don't look at it, but I see something about, but it was a smart ass one line. And it was, in light of what it turned out the picture was, that I couldn't see it, it was rude, beyond rude. It was totally dumb. So she sends me a message like on direct or something like that. And I can't remember what she said, but I looked at it, I'm like, oh my God. And it was like a picture of like girls basketball, like 15-year-olds in Iowa or something. And I'm like, oh my God. So I start calling friends of mine. And I said, do you have Holly Rowe's phone number or email address? I was like, I got to send her a message to let her know that this was totally unintentional. Because if she had wanted to in that situation, she could have put that out and said, this guy's a jerk and such and such. And I'm like, oh man. So finally I get the email. Somebody knows her, worked with her at ESPN, gives me the email address, and I email, I'm so sorry, totally unintentional, blah, 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 blah. And she emails me back, it's okay, I understand. But, and the one thing I give Holly a lot of credit about, people in our jobs, what happens way too much is you get so cynical, especially me, where she's remained really positive. And that's why I'm a big fan of Holly Rowe. And that
she was lovely to be around.
She's a really nice woman. Yeah, she's great.
It would have been a better bit to have him on the sideline trying to make sense of that, because you're right. It's hard to come up with stories. I didn't know what to talk about and the motivation. What are people thinking?
Did she say? Didn't she? You said that she started talking bad about Mac. Like there was that thing.
She has no clue who I am. I guarantee
that was
you.
off the record.
Yeah,
yeah.
That would be really fun next
the
time.
Mac Engel apology show.
That's right.
That's what we're here for.
If the season continues, TCU season continues to go sideways, right? You need to put Britton there, like find some reason for Landry can't do sideline, and then put Britton in there at sideline and let him do it, because that would be funny.
It would be gold.
Like you at least played, you have some idea, or you put in Britton who isn't that versed in the language of it, Like I could at least fake my way through.
You mean
it.
like questions like, "Hey, where do you get the headsets?"
Yeah, right.
I noticed the coach has
Who are you
one.
guys
I
talking
don't
to?
have these headsets. Where does the girl come and hand them out? Why don't the one that follows you around with the cord? Like, where do I get them?
I don't know if we can pull this off, but we're sure as hell going to try.
Work at
So Matt,
And then I can
Okay.
ask Gary
Yeah.
Patterson that question that
but
you're
you
talking
should,
about.
but interrupt him during the game.
Yeah. Did you
Coach,
pedal
real
steel
quick.
on the last album, Coach?
Right.
I didn't remember hearing
Coach,
pedal
are you
steel
going
on
to
it.
try to stop them? That was 3rd and 15, and they ran a draw, and they got 23 yards. Are we giving up, or should I take off? Because your team has, okay? Just, you don't want to, not right now? Okay, I'll get you after the game. That's fine.
The
That's
filter
fine.
J-Dub's face on the video. Look at how red it's getting.
Max, so
Okay.
I had a funny point was what the heck was it? Now you made me lose my
Sorry,
track of thought.
that's not my fault. That's your fault. You get what you pay for.
That's right. Anyway, today's show, we're going to focus on high school sports and some of the stuff that's been happening. A few days ago, a story broke about Nolan High School and their use of 5 ineligible players by the
Whoops.
district's governing body, TAPS. TAPS handed down the punishment, which entailed a 2-year suspension. The team was required to forfeit 3 victories, dropping them from 5-2 overall to now 2-3. In their district, they're 4-0 to 2-2. The Catholic diocese and their president, Christy Webb, subsequently fired the AD, put the head coach, David Bowden, on indefinite suspension. He's been there since 2016, had a really good, successful record there. They're going to be allowed to compete in the playoffs. We talked a little bit off air, but they're going to still be allowed to compete. KJ Williams takes over as head coach, and Brian Farda is their interim AD. That being said, we wanted to kind of get your take on all this because you obviously dealt.
Let me see that piece of paper.
What do you got there?
I want to look at that guy's last name. Go ahead.
Yep,
Go ahead.
very bottom of the page there.
I heard that too.
Let's just talk about Brian Farda's name.
Farda. Oh yeah.
How do you get through high school and middle school with that?
You know,
Like,
I mean,
he changed. You call mom and dad like, sorry, I love you guys, but I'm going to Smith. I'm not kidding. I don't know.
He's now an athletic director, sir. I think he's
Can you imagine the jokes?
I can't. I don't even know what to say right now. I'm picturing.
Look how embarrassed
I'm
you
picturing our friends at Nolan that we love dearly. Now,
What if it was your name? It was right here, written right by this picture, this
Oh, I
glamour
think
shot.
I'd own it. So
Yeah.
first of all, we got 2 names here. We've got Boudin, which is like,
That's like Louisiana, right?
that's, yeah, Cajun food.
Yeah.
And now we got Farda. Boudin usually leads to Farda. Sorry. That's just math.
I can feel my face getting a red.
I know.
every
It's
second,
like, oh
so
my
this
God,
is
all my
good.
good friends. And you know, one thing that JW just said that is a red flag to anything.
I'm gonna pour this on
all
my
of our
head.
good friends that we love. Anytime you say, I love this person, there is a but coming.
Yeah.
And it's never good.
No.
I love Mac. He's great. But
And you know what bud is? It's the eraser of everything that you put before that, right?
now we've changed it to and. And
yeah.
I
We're
love Mac
inclusive.
and I wish he was
All-inclusive.
dead. Love him.
Let
love
me bring
him to
this
death.
up because it's ironic that J-Dub did do the reporting at OU, which you talk about that. Remember they like with their quarterback and all of that. So going back to this, what is going on in sports with these players and individual? Like what is happening? And now it's kind of going down to the high school level. Like
I hate to say it, and I've thought about this a lot, and I'm sure you guys have. I know you have, Brenton. You've got no. I mean that. I know it's money, and I think sports is really tricky because you've got to be really careful how you use it. You've got Jay Fitzgerald over here; he's made a career out of it. Not everybody can do that as well as Jay has done it, and Jay did it at a time in soccer when soccer was way off the map in the United States. Well, now it's a part of the discussion. It's a $1 billion business. You got a viable pro sports league that works now. Whereas for many generations before, it was failing at best. And my personal feeling is that, you know, I've got a daughter who's playing select soccer, and I had a lot of concerns about select soccer. I still do. I like the people involved, and I think a lot of good people are involved in it. I think the money is when you start getting money involved, and I'm not talking $10, I'm talking about thousands of dollars. It changes people, changes behavior. People who don't mean for it to happen. I listened to Hope Solo talk about this. She's the former United States women national team's goalie, and she echoed a statement that I thought for a while, which was, you know, the reason why soccer is the most popular sport in the world is that it's basically free.
yeah.
All you need is a ball. So hockey is one of the reasons hockey can never get any bigger is that you need ice time. Ice is expensive. The equipment's very expensive. Football, the same problem, American football. Whereas soccer,
So anybody can afford to play soccer. That's your angle there.
100%.
That's interesting.
You made a statement about the money changing things. Do you think that happens within the home when all of a sudden the budget's being occupied
100%.
by $10,000 going to soccer or select sports and things like that?
Think about it. I mean, well, I mean, and Hope's point was, and my point was about my criticism of the U.S. soccer model, no offense, Jay, is that we took the cheapest sport in the world and we somehow managed to make it expensive. Because if you look at all the crap that's associated with it, kids have to have a warm-up jersey. What? What family needs to spend $40 so their kid can wear a warm-up jersey or a bag or this? And it's thousands of dollars and it just adds up. Well, we got to go to a tournament in Michigan. Why? We're right here. You have 10,000 million players right here. Why are you getting on a plane and flying to Vegas for a tournament? And it creates a wider gap between the haves and the have-nots. And I think and Hope's point was the reason why you see some of the behaviors by parents that are so out of control sometimes is because they've spent so much money on it.
Yeah.
And it feels like that entitles them to have a voice. Right. And we've seen it in college athletics. You see all these rich fat cat boosters who have a real active voice in athletic departments. Well, why? Because they're paying Jimbo Fisher $9 million a year to coach a football team.
Right.
Or they're going to pay $17 million just to make Ed Orgeron go away. Well, that sort of stuff eventually kind of filters down on a much smaller level. We're not talking about millions of dollars. We're talking about thousands of dollars, but money's all relative. If that household, $1,000 is a big deal to that household, well, then that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think the part that concerns me is that, and I say this because I'm going through it now at 48. You can only play sports for so long.
Well, that's the thing is that have we hit that point with the rise of all of these select sports? And we're going to get back because I want to figure out what you think about the Nolan deal too. But real quick, so have we hit the point where all these parents are like, we did the select thing, it didn't work out for us. I don't know if I'd put that money in it again. Like, have we hit that generational?
Yeah, but I don't think. Or
it doesn't look like that.
It doesn't look like that yet. I think that individual has to go through it. Mm-hmm. And I think what I've noticed is parents, if you ask them individually, will say, this is madness. This is crazy. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
But then you get stuck. You're like, well, I guess this is what we have to do. We got to spend $2,500 for our child to play soccer this year.
Well, and it's funny because we have a friend who we graduated with whose son plays on a select baseball. And he was complaining about this. Like, it's not only that, it's going on these trips, staying at the hotels, and he's like going out with the parents.
Yep.
And it's a friend. And he was like, I'm going to just bring my grill and cook in the parking lot. And I was like, don't be that dad, man, to your kid. Like, don't set yourself because there's a pressure. And it's like, you got to come with us and do this. And this is how we do it.
More so than just sports though, Mac, if the parents aren't throwing the money down for the kid to do this, is the kid falling behind in his peer group, his friend group? Is he getting kind of ostracized because he's not part of that cool new group that's doing the good stuff in that respective sport? I don't know. Is that an issue as well?
I think you have to think about it. I mean, I'm sure you're a dad. We all are. We know how hard it is, even in the best of circumstances. So you don't want to deliberately put your kid in a spot where you think it may really adversely affect them beyond your own screw ups in a given day. Well, okay, we can make this work. Are you sure? Well, yeah, it's called credit. Okay, well that has a price, and I worry about it. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've seen it with hockey, basketball, certainly basketball. Baseball is extremely expensive because you feel all this pressure. Well, I got to go, and then it becomes. It hasn't really for me, and that's probably more of an indictment on me. But then it becomes the parent's life, and I've seen that happen, and where it becomes a big part of their social life. And you hear about all these stories. Oh, we're going on a trip. You got 2 nights in a hotel. Parents are, it's happy, drunk party time. Mm-hmm. And then the kid finishes, right? They graduate high school or they get hurt or whatever. And now the parent's like, well, now what? I guess we all go through that sort of stuff. But these are all sort of the things that have come about as youth sports in the United States, and I don't know what it's like overseas, but youth sports in the United States has become a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Well, so enter NIL, right? So does that kind of pick up where that conversation is starting? And then, all of a sudden, do you have these kids? Because you think about just the kids too. It's like, I played a select sport my whole life, and now I'm not playing in college, or I am playing in college, and I either need to continue this and all of this kind of money and influence that exists. Presumably what happened with TAPS and all this bubble up that took place was based on a recruiting thing. And it's like, how much, now we're going down into the deep seats, right, with the recruiting thing. So it's like, it's all kind of happening, and it's starting to look a lot like politics or some other places, where it's like the money's driving the conversation. And so what's your take?
I think the NIL thing is going to become not a crisis. And Eric Hyman, right? Mm-hmm. Eric was the longtime athletic director at VMI, Miami of Ohio, TCU, South Carolina, and Texas A&M. And Eric was an idealist and a purist to college athletics to the core. And I had always been of mind that you can't pay student athletes. You can't, because of Title IX. Pay the football player, you're going to have to pay the women's soccer player. Pay the basketball player, men's basketball player, you're going to play the women's swimmer or diver or the men's golfer, right? And if you look at most college athletic departments, by far and away, the majority of the student athletes are not playing revenue sports. Like if you had to break them down by numbers, they're not playing revenue sports. And this is the hard, complicated part about college sports, or sports in general, is that in college sports, you only have two sports that make money.
Football, basketball.
Football and men's basketball. That's it. Every now and then you'll find the random baseball team that might draw some cash in. You'll find the random I shouldn't say random, the really good women's basketball team that is cash positive. That'll draw money, but talking about a lot of expenses, a lot.
Right.
And there's so much money involved now I'm talking Power 5 college athletics, not Sam Houston State, not some Division III, not any of that other junk. It's not. None of them are making money. They're sort of aspiring to the ideals of higher education, which is we're here for school and to try to make young people's lives better, to be in a position where they succeed after they're done with college and hopefully become contributing donors. So now when Eric's point was, hey, look, if you look at the amount of money being tossed around now, I don't know how you can not pay these people. So when he changed his mind, I changed my mind. It's like, okay, yeah, he's probably right. So now you have NIL that comes down, which I think is probably outdated, which as much as I didn't like it, I think it was a necessity. How many people do you really think are going to be worth $10,000, $5,000? $100,000 in college sports? Probably not many.
Yeah.
But if you're at the University of Alabama, Tennessee, USC, Washington, name me your big power state school. And then maybe Duke men's basketball, Notre Dame, a couple other privates. You can line up deals with maybe oil and gas guys because they're doing it now. But what's it really, really worth? And I think what you'll find is for a handful of them, it'll be worth a lot. The other ones, not much.
Very interesting. So you real quick, Mac, you touched on the have and the have-nots in your previous comments, but this is something I've learned by talking to some folks in the college spectrum, this NIL stuff, and you might know this, but in the locker room specifically, you have the kids going to get paid, and you have the kids not getting paid. So the haves are going to somehow have a place at the table that the have-nots won't.
Yep.
There's going to be some animosity in the locker room, which obviously is no good. Have you heard of this?
100%.
Yeah.
I talked to, you guys know who Emmanuel Lacho is? Okay, Emmanuel, I did a Zoom call with him not too long ago. But I'm really good at the name drop, by the way.
Yeah.
They would.
I'm still back on this coach from Nolan's.
That's right.
I'm still working out.
We're going to do a different show on that. So I asked him about that because Emmanuel, like all these guys, are very pro NIL.
Yep.
And he played in the NFL for, I think, 4 seasons. And he brought up a really good point. Why do you think all these quarterbacks turn around and give their offensive linemen $10,000 toys, basically? They're taking care of these guys.
Yeah.
Well, the high school, the kid who's probably shortly, just got out of high school, is he going to have the presence of mind to turn around and give his offensive lineman $5,000 worth of junk.
Yeah.
Is he? Probably not. I think it's going to be a problem. Anything you get, anytime you get any sort of advancement, let's just take technology, there's some trade-off. So if these guys are making money, there's going to be a trade-off. There's going to be a problem. And I think what you're going to find is, and I think you're going to find for a strata of coaches, I think Gary's one of them. Gary Patterson is one of them. Kirk Ferentz. Just find the older guys. Anybody 55 and up, they're going to have a really hard time with this because their power is being taken away a little bit. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's going to affect families. It's going to affect high school coaches. It's just a trickle-down thing. And I think what I'll eventually see is high school players are going to be like, wait a minute, I've got 1 million Instagram followers because I'm being recruited by Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama, and I can't make any money off this. Yeah, we're not doing this. Because why did you think the quarterback from Southlake left early to go to Ohio State? So he could make $1 million in NIL.
Yep.
And eventually, much like the NFL went through with the rookie salary cap, they got tired of paying guys $10 million. Like Sam Bradford was the last guy who got paid. And they were like, nope, we're not doing this. Because the veterans were like, wait a minute. Why is this cat getting $10 million and I'm out here making 1.2 and I've been in the league for 6 years?
Yeah.
So eventually that's all going to happen. It's not going to happen today. Probably won't happen in 5 years, but it's going to happen.
Well, it sounds a lot like the record company giving you an advance and you doing a 5 album contract, and you've got to come and put all those albums out, and then their return is on that initial investment when the studio stuff and all that. Right. But the other question I have is because we've had some young folks who have said, yeah, my mom, is this. And you think about a parent making a judgment call. If you're getting a free ride no matter what, that parent's going with their gut on the emotion that they get from probably that coach and how well that they think their child's going to be taken care of. Now it's a totally different dynamic, right? And you're having maybe some folks who are not that educated in some of these business decisions and reading contracts and things like that, making these decisions.
Yeah, you do. And I've come to learn that if a college athlete, and I don't know if you went through this, JW, or Jay, you went through this, a high school athlete.
I played in college.
I should have asked you.
NAIA,
it's all right.
Yeah.
It's the same.
How dare you not?
God, did you sign when you came out of Mac? A high school player is not signing with a college. He's signing with a coach.
Surely.
Their allegiance is to the coach.
Based on an emotional thing now with this other thing.
Based on the whatever they promised, and this guy's going to help him get better and all this other stuff. If you find out the troubling thing is that, and especially when I listened to Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court Justice, when they were ruling about all this stuff, is that Brett Kavanaugh basically said a college education is not worth anything. Now, that's a really dark way to interpret his ruling. But if you read it, you're like, yeah, the Supreme Court Justice, this one, who was a benefactor of some of the most elite schools in the United States, i.e. wealthy, is saying this isn't worth anything. Because a scholarship, a full ride, let's say it's TCU or SMU, that's basically $250,000 to $300,000. It's not worth anything. It's not. That's what he was basically saying, which we all know is a lie. Well, what's a university selling that this is, worth $300,000 or $80,000 a year or whatever it is? So when he said that, my jaw about hit the floor. And what I've learned, especially now in the last 10 years, when high school athletes are going through recruiting, unless I shouldn't say all of them, but in terms of the revenue, sports, things like that, baseball too, maybe track, they're not asking about school. School never comes up. They're not asking about, look at the geology department. We've got the best communication department in the Southwest. Our business schools ranked. They're not asking about any of it. None of it. It is about playing time. Am I going to play? How much am I going to play? Where do I fit in? Those are the questions. And that's fine. But someone in that dynamic has got to stop these guys and saying, listen, dude, this is going to end at best. If everything goes right, you're done with this life at 35. Most of you ain't making money on this at all. And a lot of you are going to quit halfway through. No one brings that up.
Interesting. Yep.
How much does the conference then dynamic play? Because now it's like,
a lot. We
as a school better get into the right conference so we get the right. It's like the other side of that equation, right? Where it's like if we're not big time enough, we're going to lose all these players then.
Well, it's not just players that you're losing. I mean, that's part of it.
Coaches.
All of it. Donors. I mean, if you go back to the 80s when Georgetown University, not many people outside the Northeast had heard of Georgetown University.
I remember some of those players.
You didn't know it was a private.
Can you name one of them?
God, I can see Casey Jones because it was a Grateful Dead song. Is that right? That's the coach?
Casey Jones?
Yeah.
Dude, I hope
Georgetown basketball.
I don't believe that's accurate.
Delete that.
Yes.
I'm going to Google it.
It was John Thompson. Casey Jones was the coach of the Boston Celtics. He coached Larry Bird.
Keep going.
Yeah.
No, let him burn.
This is kind of fun. We can do this for another couple of weeks.
Why he's finding out his error.
So if you look at Georgetown, Georgetown was a small private Catholic university in the Northeast that was known in the Northeast. Hires John Thompson. He recruits Patrick Ewing, David Wingate, all these other guys. They started killing it in the national NCAA tournament. And they become a national brand. Then you had Hoya Paranoia, and all of a sudden, the donations started to flood in. It happens every time. It happened to Northwestern when the football team started to do well in the 90s. It happened to TCU. It happened to Colgate, a small private liberal arts school, when they recruited a kid named Adonal Foyle, who would never have gone to Colgate to get to the tournament. Money and applications start flowing in. So now that Baylor, that's another one. That's why they're all chasing that ghost. If we can win in men's basketball, if we can win in football, which is the holy grail, we will completely change the fortune of this university. Happened down the street. It's a heart. George Mason. I remember when George Mason got into the Final Four a couple years ago, all of a sudden, all this money that had been on the maybe for George Mason to spend, they get to the Final Four, done.
You get guys like me buying jersey. I had a George Mason t-shirt.
There you go.
And you're exactly right. Yep. Hey, Brenton, what did we come up with?
That my algorithm did show that Casey Jones had a small stint coaching Georgetown.
When?
I didn't look that far.
Yeah, we didn't.
Have you ever had an interviewer have to Google something during the interview?
I've done it.
Okay, good. You mentioned real quick.
Brian Farda was his assistant coach at that time.
That's right.
You mentioned Jimbo Fisher just a second ago. You just penned an article a couple days ago about this exact situation. Real quickly, is Jimbo Fisher leaving A&M for LSU?
I don't know why he would. He might. You never know. Do you believe anything? I love it. So Jimbo was under Nick Saban when Nick Saban was.
Do you know who Jimbo Fisher is, Brenton?
Did Patrick Donahue play for Georgetown?
He did. He was a guard.
Okay.
Off the bench.
I slowly redeemed myself.
You did.
But do you know who Jimbo Fisher is by chance?
No clue.
Okay.
I got a vision of Patrick Donahue now. Not
right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So Jimbo Fisher's the head coach of Texas A&M. He was at Florida State and won a national championship. He left in 2014, 17, whatever it was, because the athletic director at Texas A&M was a big splashy name guy, and he goes out and hires a national championship winning coach for like 7 years and $75 million. Here's the best part. That whole contract was paid for by boosters. None of it was state money. None of it was A&M's money. It's all a bunch of jock-sniffing dorks who threw money at Jimbo Fisher. And then you're not going to believe this. Jimbo Fisher loves Texas A&M. I had no idea. Like he loves Texas A&M. And here's this even gets better. Jimbo last season during COVID goes 9-1, doesn't get into the playoff, which they've got the shaft. And then they're like, Jimbo, you're amazing. You're incredible. Here's more money. We're going to bump your salary from $7.5 to $9.2 million. You're going to be the second highest paid coach in college football, only behind Nick Saban, even though you have not gotten to the playoffs. That's how much they love Jimbo Fisher.
He's not lying. It's unbelievably crazy how much they love him down there.
That's the Aggie, but that's a whole different deal, man.
Totally,
they love that they love. Like it's a different.
It is,
and they take good care of their own. I will say that.
They do. Yeah.
Even outside,
$9 million a year to not be Nick Saban, but to be paid like Nick Saban and not produce like him.
What would it cost them to lose Jimbo Fisher? My
favorite part. That contract has a $0 buyout.
Wow.
Right. Nothing. Normally there's a buyout in every single big time contract because the whole point is if you leave, you're paying us. That's why I think it's a big reason why Jamie Dixon is not the head coach at UCLA right now. He'd say that's not true, but I don't believe that respectfully. So Jimbo, who's the one who wrote the contract between Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher? Scott Woodward. Who's the athletic director at LSU? Scott Woodward. Who just negotiated a get out of town contract with Ed Orgeron? Scott Woodward. Who has a relationship with Jimbo Fisher? Scott Woodward.
Any relation to Woodward and Bernstein?
Yes, he's a uncle. It's crazy how it worked out. It's like a stepfather.
A good writer, presumably. You know.
So everybody's thinking, well, Scott's going to come after Jimbo again, and he can do it because it won't cost Jimbo any money. I don't believe that. I think Jimbo will stay there forever because they just gave him $9 million, a bump from $7.5 to $9.2 million. He's like, oh, I love it here. I love my family loves it here. We can do our stuff with our foundation and all this other stuff. I'm like, who cares? They're giving you $9 million. I love it here. And A&M, they don't have enough words in any dictionary to express their love for this guy. And I'm thinking, yeah, he loves you because you've just paid him $9 million. You give me $9 million.
In College Station, the cost of living there is you're probably living like you're getting paid $15 million.
What do you do with it? Like, I want to know, what do you do with it with $9 million in College Station?
In select sports.
I guess that's right. He's on the best team. Mm-hmm. So Jimbo, I don't think Jimbo will go anywhere, but I think it'd be dumb not to call, not to take the call. Oh, you want to chat?
I bet you're
guys.
right.
I don't want to leave. I love A&M. I love all you guys, but they're asking me. And you bumped me up to 10.3. All right. Okay. I wasn't going to go, but I'll take the money.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we've consternated about all of this.
Yes.
You can't take the money out of the machine. So what do? You regulate it? I mean, this is like back to the capitalism kind of. Do you limit the market or what do you do? Just let it happen? I mean, we have a lot of things in life facing us like this, you just let.
So what they've tried to do, the one way you sell sports, because you got to sell it. It's one of the reasons the college football playoff is going to go from 4 to 12. You've got to sell interest in your games, right? And what they realized quickly was 4 teams isn't enough. So they're going to go to 12 teams. And by giving it to 12 teams, they're basically going to turn a college football playoff berth into an NCAA tournament berth, which is okay. It's interesting.
But is there enough? This is football. Is there enough recovery time? Like even there's like.
Okay, they don't care.
Okay. Yeah.
They're 20. They don't care.
The kids are getting paid now. Who cares?
Yeah, right. Who cares? Is it recovery? No, of course not. Well, there is better at 20 than there is 30.
Well, but I mean, the kind of deal with the March, it's like a compressed thing, right? To keep my attention, like if you do it over 3 months, you lost me, in the first week.
It depends on A, are you gambling? B, are you a football junkie? C, are you invested in the team?
How do the bookies know those spreads so close?
They're the best fans on the planet, and because they research it like nobody else. It's just amazing how good they are.
It's almost too amazing.
Do they know our Horned Frogs better than we know our Horned Frogs?
Probably. I mean, go back to the Rose Bowl. Right. TCU was like 2.5 point favorite. And what did they win by? 2 points.
3, I think.
Was it 3?
21-19.
Is it?
It's 3, yeah.
That's 2.
2? Yeah, that's 2. Excuse me.
It's all right. Well, his math was a long time ago.
Edit.
It's yeah, right. Clean that one up.
So how do you clean the machine? Can you?
I don't think you can. No, I think, and maybe you guys have gone through this too. If this is what the rules are, then I think it's up to you as a parent, as a dad, as a man, a human being. Like, okay, I kind of have to figure this out and try to make it work as best for me as I can. And, sometimes that means recognizing not knowing what you don't know and finding somebody who does.
Mm-hmm.
I know personally, like I'm not that smart and I'm not that dumb, but I know when it comes to money, I'm going to call my brother or my dad. When it comes to certain other questions I would have about things, doctor, it's a medical issue. I have a sister-in-law who's a doctor. I have a lot of friends who are doctors. I'm going to ask them.
Yeah.
So when it comes to it, the trick is, can you find the right person to sort of give you the heads up and advice on it, who has your best interests at heart and isn't looking to take your money, looking to take your time. And I think for a lot of people, that's hard to figure out.
Yeah.
Especially when it's your kid involved.
Mm-hmm.
That's your heart, right?
Yeah.
That kid has your entire heart in their palm. They don't know it, but they do. And you want the best for them. You want them to hurt. You want them to be in a good spot. But you also, and I always still go back to this. We talk about youth sports. I think what really drives me crazy, and this comes from talking to pro coaches, Division I coaches, Dr. James Andrews, the legendary sports orthopedist out of Birmingham, Alabama. I've talked to him about this. That's a good name drop.
Excellent.
It's like, don't worry about any of this stuff until the child finishes puberty. Don't worry about college. It's like, you don't know. Make sure they have fun, get a little bit better, learn some life skills, stay in shape, burn some calories, all that stuff, have fun. They're not sitting in front of the computer all day, all that. That's what I focused on. And I've thought, oh, okay, whenever but in regards to my daughter, whenever she's done with puberty, and I'll see where she is, but I'm under no illusion just because I know the statistics are so bad.
Yeah.
It's use athletics for what it can be. Maybe, who knows, maybe get lucky. You can use it for a scholarship. Who knows? But if you're going to sit there and think, okay, this is about money, and I really need to worry about scholarship assistance, where's my better play? A 3.95 GPA.
Yeah.
That'll serve you much better than a 395 batting average. And that's it. But the problem is it's boring. Sports are fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
it's unfortunate, but you are telling the truth.
It is, yeah.
So speaking of kids, and it's Halloween season, obviously you can see we've adorned our set with some Halloween accoutrement. What's the Engel family do?
I'm a big Halloween guy.
What do the Engels do for Halloween?
You got decorated the house and stuff?
Yep. Love it.
Like you like scaring people? He likes like him, man. He has a haunted house.
I love it. Do you have a haunted house?
Well, we've had in the past, yes.
Wow.
I know a guy who went over to that haunted house. I mean, he's a real straight arrow guy. He was like, he came out with a live chainsaw. Like he was fearful of his children getting hurt because.
Well, now I guess the chainsaw can't be a surprise. You know, that somebody just blew my cover.
I went as Life Gone is. I've changed it up. I go as Indiana Jones once. I went as Batman once. I went as the best one I probably had was, it was pretty scary. I went as Jason.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
But I had an axe. I didn't want to buy a fake axe because I had an axe in the garage.
Was Kevin Bacon in that first one?
I think, probably.
Like
him or Kevin Costner.
No.
But Kevin Costner played a corpse
Casey
in the
Jones,
Big Easy. Casey Jones.
Boston Celtics.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to this little thing
I love
that ended
Halloween.
up. We ready to?
Yeah, hit him up.
So this is a little question. This is kind of like a Fort Worth 14-point analysis kind of thing.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep. No.
Joe T's or the original? These are supposed to be kind of lightning round, but take your time.
I'm trying to think of the best way to say neither.
You can say neither.
You can say neither.
Last time I went to the original, I paid a hefty price for at least a week. Haven't been the same since.
Okay. Kincaids or Freds?
Oh, Kincaids.
The modern or the Kimball?
I like those both. Kimball.
Szechuan or Tokyo Cafe?
I'm a Tokyo Cafe homer.
A date with JW or Britton?
Yes.
Excellent.
Threesome.
You have passed. Mac Engel.
Thank you,
my friend. Thanks for coming back to the show.
Thank you very much. Do me a favor. Next time, let me know if this is going to be like a video so I shave.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's
We didn't.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you.
Thank you.